you very much. So yes, I'm just going to start off by giving a bit of background about why green heat is important to us as a nation, and then go through some of the activities of Scottish Enterprise, what's being delivered currently and what's in the pipeline in the future, and then also move on to specifically look at the innovation support in this area. So just the background, most of you would have seen all these figures beforehand. They've been covered greatly in the media and through the heat and building strategy released by the Scottish Government. But ultimately, we are looking at reducing our carbon emissions. We've said that we're going to try and be net zero by 2045, which is one of the most ambitious targets, which was, I think, was announced during COP26 when it was in Glasgow there. And in order to achieve this, we've got to look at where these emissions are coming from. Where can we make that difference? And the biggest one is actually probably within that energy heating sector. As you can see, that number 52% there, just as kind of outlining the amount of energy which we use for heat. And unfortunately, most of that energy is not green. It's kind of lost this, the fossil fuel approach. Therefore, it means that heat is the largest single source of carbon emissions in Scotland. The heat and building strategy kind of like looked at this, and it's identified the challenges, and it's outlined some of the activities the Scottish Government are going to be doing. But it's also identified it as an opportunity for the Scottish economy as well, which is very, very important to recognise. We can see that there's going to be lots of activity in this area. It's going to potentially create a lot of additional jobs. We've got the number 16,400 noted on these slides here. A lot of those will be through the transition into new installations of things like heat pumps, which has very ambitious targets here in Scotland to reach 200,000 per year by the late 2020s. That is a very, very, very large number. It's going to be like a big hockey stick at the moment. It's quite low, but we are moving in that particular direction. And some of that is being driven by the Scottish Government's policy and support. They've said that we cannot, from 2024, install gas boilers in new builds. And also, they're looking to push up the energy performance of houses as well to that B and C grades. And also they're providing lots of actually financial support and incentives for people to move from gas boilers when they're looking to make that change into heat pumps, etc. And importantly, that wraparound areas of activity regarding the green of the buildings and sort of making them more energy efficient. So I was going to cover a little bit about what Scottish Enterprise is doing. And we've actually got a dedicated national programme in and around green heat. Emma's already covered one of the activities which we're supporting, the heat source. So I was pleased to see that you mentioned that. But that's kind of was one of the first things which actually kicked off through this programme because of it's bringing that community together. Another one of the activities which is taking place is the Green Heat Accelerator. This is really looking at people, entrepreneurs in the green heat area, and supporting them and helping them develop the skills they need to build their company, to build their networks, and prosper. So the first cohort of companies has just gone through that, so that program's kicked off, and I've heard some very good feedback in that particular area. Another area which Scottish Enterprise is developing is the Green Heat Hub. Now this has gone out for proposals at the moment, and it's really going to be industry-led about what this hub of excellence looks like and what is needed. So we're in that first stage of actually developing what's going to happen for this kind of like support area. With more information about all these things on the Scottish Enterprise website. And finally, the area which I'm going to cover in a little bit more detail is the Green Heat Innovation Support Programme, which covers a range of different types of financial support to companies. So let's get notes for this one because I'm not rich, so I'll trim in slightly a bit later on this one. So the Innovation Support Programme It's actually looking to make kind of that long-term difference here. It's not just a very quick 6-month program. It's going to be running until 2026, and as you can see, it's going to have a large budget of 17.6 million there. The objective is to increase innovation capacity, activity within the low carbon heat sector, but also very importantly, encourage diversification into the sector. I kind of like in the previous slide showed how much activity and growth is going to be happening, and we need innovation in there, and we need active companies as well. We're looking to also, through this program, make a direct impact on new investment and get Scottish companies involved in the supply chain. And also enhance Scotland's reputation, international reputation, and competitive position in green heat. As well as trying to get that international reputation, international investment, we're also looking to support investment here in Scotland as well through the Green Investment Portfolio and the Scottish National Investment Bank as well. When I go on to the next slide, I'll be talking about some of the specific options available. And you'll see that we are looking to kind of increase that collaboration within Scotland, both at domestic and international level. We're looking at supporting collaboration between businesses and academia, businesses in the public sector as well. So it's very, very broad what we're going to be doing. And the other thing to highlight is, while I'm talking from the Scottish enterprise point of view, it is Scotland's support. So it covers the Highlands and Islands enterprise, it covers the South Scotland enterprise regions as well, and we're working collaboratively with them. Just before I change slides, I want to highlight its very broad areas of focus. You can see them listed on the slides there, but in short, it's kind of looking at green heat equipment from heat pumps, as mentioned before, heat networks. It's looking at storage, energy storage. It's looking at the digital side of it, and looking at smart controls as well in particular. And it's open to any company in Scotland or people looking to invest in Scotland as well. So what I'm just going to touch upon now is some of the funding routes which are available. There is a range of grant funding which is will support research and development and capital investment projects focused on innovation in the green heat area. Grant values and the funding rates will depend upon what you're actually applying for, what size of company you are, etc. So it follows very much a standard Scottish enterprise grant approach for that one. So that can be applied for, and you can actually go straight onto the Scottish Enterprise site now and put in an application there, do a profile of your project at any time. So that's one of the areas which is already running. The second thing which is I want to highlight is the feasibility studies. This part of the programme hasn't actually launched yet. It's going to come in early 2023. This is going to be competitive funding calls to help Scottish-based businesses develop innovative green heat solutions, focusing on the technology levels kind of 5 to 7, so kind of quite far up that technology readiness level side of it. And the good news is it's going to be 100% funded for these feasibility studies. It's going to be about quite short projects. I think it's 3 to 4 months, and it's going to be a grant between 30,000 and 50,000 to help kind of assess the feasibility of the technology we've developed. The next one to mention is the Can-Do Innovation Challenge. One thing to mention about this, I referenced the public sector and the business engagement and trying to encourage that. And the Can-Do approach is very much challenge-based and looking at what the public sector needs. And the other one, innovation challenges. And the idea is that the companies will propose how they can actually fulfill that challenge. They'll be funded through research and development service contracts, and which will be funded at 100%. Ideally, the challenge comes out that you solve it and you'll be able to commercialise the project that way as well. And finally, this is my area of expertise, the European funding side of it. And there's a programme which Scottish Enterprise is involved in, together with Highlands and Islands Enterprise and SOSE, and that's the Clean Energy Transition Partnership. This is an international collaboration across 70 different national funding agencies in 30 countries, which is encouraging funding so projects to be developed transnationally. What I'm going to focus on is the European Innovation Council part of the programme, and in a very simple terms, one of the differences between this and what Conall was talking about is a lot of the opportunities are bottom up, which means you have a lot more flexibility about what you're proposing. In the calls Conall was talking about, they identified the scope of the call and the size of the call and some of the key points they want to identify. With quite a few of the activities through this European Innovation Council part of the programme, you're basically putting your project forward. It has three components, which really starts at the bottom. You've got the EIC Pathfinder, which is the early stage research, which I think may be relevant to the question later on. You've got the EIC transition part there, which is quite niche, and I'll mention that in a moment. And the one which usually gets everyone excited is the EIC Accelerator, which is looking at that closer to market activity. To build upon each of those, I just want to highlight the Pathfinder. That is that early stage research. That's that technology readiness level 1 to 4. So you can see, hopefully you can just make it on the scale there, what type of activities that covers. And that's looking for big €4 million projects. And some of this is actually collaborative as well. So you're looking for that partnership side of it. The middle one, which we don't really tend to talk about, because in order to be involved in the transition one, which is going to that next step up when it comes to the technology readiness level, you have to have participated in a previous Horizon Europe project, usually through the Pathfinder or predecessor activities. So if you haven't been involved in the Horizon project already, and at earlier stage research, then you can't currently apply for that one. And then there's the Accelerator. This is the one which is single SMEs. It's looking at the higher technology readiness levels, between 5, 6, up to 8. And you can apply for between €0.5 million to €2.5 million grant for this, a very generous 70%. There is an investment equity dimension to this, but we cannot, as a green SME from the UK, you cannot apply for that part. But we can still apply for the grant only one, and companies have been successful for that. What is quite new, as I mentioned, a lot of these calls are bottom up, so you propose what you're wanting to do. There are challenges as well. So this is where the Commission have put a pot of money to one side for particular challenges they want these different approaches to cover. And I mentioned a couple of these. First of all is the Pathfinder. As you can see, there's 2/3 potential projects which will support early stage research with designated funding pots. As I mentioned for this, the Pathfinder, the early stage research, is a consortium approach one. If you're going for the open call, you have to have 3 partners, but if you're going for this, the particular challenge, it can actually be 2. So that it gives you a little bit more flexibility if you're looking for that. It is traditionally dominated by universities and research organisations. The Accelerator, which is the other side of it, where the closer to market side of it, where you're a single SME. There's a couple of ones there in energy storage and digitalisation projects as well in those environments. So if you're interested in those, you're probably interested to find out what happened with the deadlines. How this differs from Conall's one is where each particular core topic has one deadline. This has multiple deadlines throughout this year. So if you're thinking, oh great, that sounds interesting to me, but I'm not going to be ready for March, say for the Accelerator, then you can still have that opportunity later on in the year as well. The good news, there is another national contact point who will cover this area, Claire Griffin. So there's UK level support for this, as well as domestic support, so Scottish support through Scottish Enterprise as well. So that's that last pillar of Horizon. I'm going to try and sneak in 2 other interesting opportunities. One of these is called Eureka Eurostars, and it's partly funded by Horizon, but also funded by Innovate UK as well. This is another collaborative project, and I was making sure I got this right. So I was looking to the webinar yesterday, and it looks at the projects which are starting at between TRL 3 and TRL 4, which will push things up to TRL 6 and 7. So is that lower than the accelerator, but is that midterm area research? It's bottom up, so you can propose anything as long as it's ethical. And a slightly smaller grant. The project is about 1.5 million to 2 million, I think, collectively for a consortia. For the UK, the maximum a single company can have is 360,000 euros, and it's at 60% information rate for this one. Calls are regularly throughout the year. I think the next deadline is in April. And as I mentioned, it's international. It's other countries do fund universities and other types of organisations, but for the UK, it's just businesses. And yeah, just on the right-hand side, it does show it's not just European Union countries. There's Canada in there. I think there's Singapore in there as well. There's 3 or 4 different non-EU countries as well. So it's worth keeping an eye out for that. And then finally, the programme which I referenced when I first came up here, which is Clean Energy Transition Partnership, which is that multinational innovation programme, which Scotland is involved in. And within that, they've identified 7 particular modules they want to target to support collaborative research and innovation in. And there's 2 which would be of particular interest to you. The TRI4, as it's called, the efficient zero emission heating and cooling solutions, and then the integrated built environment on that TRI7. The first call for this is just closed, but it's an annual call, so we're going to open it up again in September for applications, and we're supporting this very much through Scottish Enterprise, both from the partnering side and the project development side. So for this one in particular, definitely do get contact with us. And a quick overview, completely different. I'm away from programs now. We're looking at the support which is available. I'm watching Emma because I'm wanting to see if I'm on time. I just want to talk about some of the organisations who are there here in Scotland. I'm from CEGEC, Scottish European Green Energy Centre. The big clue is in the name, European and green. So we're there to support European applications, the companies who are looking to apply to Europe in those areas. We try to help you throughout this whole journey, basically, from understanding the programme to identify a funding opportunity, if you're looking to develop that application and move it along, kind of keep you on track. Sometimes there's additional external support to really build that application as well, and get you through that whole process. I would like to claim all the glory for the activity we do, but we do work with a number of partners in this area. Scotland Europa, which is another organisation based in Scottish Enterprise, who hosts the regional contact point. There's Enterprise Europe Network as well, which FIS, which I'll mention in a second. And then, very importantly, UKRI as well. Do a lot of work with Conall in this particular area. And then, just to highlight who the team is, Rachel, who sent out apologies today. From the main contacts for myself and Karen Fraser. We'll send out all the links later on in their presentations. I've included Anne-Marie there. She's the regional contact point for Scotland, and she covers the whole programme. So if you've got something in a different area, again, Anne-Marie might be the person to go to. And there's some of the links to where to find out further information. And my final slide is a couple of other teams here in Scotland who support Scottish engagement and information provision. We've got the Funding Information Support Service here in Scotland, again based in Scottish Enterprise. They have a broad remit of looking to help you identify funding opportunities, be it at UK level with Innovate UK or the EU level. I mentioned the EIC Accelerator and the Eurostars there. They also work with the DASA, the EIT Digital, which is another organisation which runs funds, and European Space Agency. So they work and cover lots of these other funds that help you identify and work through that process. And one of the big ones is helping people make a going no-go decision myself, Conall, and everyone else does that all the time, because we don't want you investing too much time in something that is not quite right for you. Elsewhere. And finally is the research service, something which is very much overlooked sometimes when we're talking about these things. There is lots and lots of information out there and reports which we have access to, which we can share with businesses. I see Brian nodding there as well, just awareness of them. And if you have a look at that, it's just some examples of what is available to businesses. So there's a contact name there, and again the links to the website so you can find out more about this, because it's publicly available information, so we really do want to make sure people actually